Welcome to Splash and Go. I'm your host, Nate Ryan, here with Jeff Burton at Stewart Haas Racing, where, Jeff, the four Fords here have started off pretty well in 2019, but probably not as well as they started 2018. No wins yet for Stewart Haas Racing. Meanwhile, the Penske Fords, Ryan Blaney was on the pole at ISM Raceway, Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski both have wins this year. What do you see so far with Stewart Haas Racing as the Ford team with the new Mustang and versus the Penske teams doing well?
No need to panic in my eyes. You see Kevin Harvick running well. We've seen Clint Bowyer running well. We've seen Amarola running well. Not great, not as well as they want to run, but running well. So I don't think that they're light years away. I think they're a little bit away. We heard Clint Bowyer make a comment that, hey, we're on the West Coast. There's not a whole lot we're going to do to make changes to our cars at this point. They know they got to get better. I think if I'm Stewart Haas, I'm looking and saying, okay, we definitely got to get better, but we're close enough. We don't have to panic. We don't have to wholesale change stuff. We can fine-tune from here.
And you mentioned Bowyer saying that he needs to improve his car. We had gotten a little bit of an interesting debate earlier today. There's no question who the lead car is at Stewart Haas Racing. Yeah. That's Kevin Harvick. That's the 4. But in terms of the number 2 car right now, Eric Almirola has 3 top 10s. He's led 2 races, led over 60 laps. Bowyer has 1 top 10. No laps led this season, but you still feel as if he's probably number 2 in the pecking order here.
Well, the numbers say they're not. If you look just at numbers, and I guess ultimately this is a performance-based business, and numbers are all that matter. But my eyeballs tell me that they're much closer than that. When I'm watching the races, I'm looking, and I don't see a vast difference between the way Eric's running and the way that Clint's running. I think they run very, very much the same. So right now, I think they're pretty equal, although the numbers suggest that Almirola is better. Daniel is a little behind. He hasn't had the speed, and Kevin is ahead of him, and I'm not surprised about that. For the last 10 years, I'd say, 10 years, Kevin Harvick's been the best of no matter who his teammates have been. He's been the best and been able to outrun them, so I'm not surprised that's continued.
Now, Bowyer, as you mentioned, he had 2 wins last year. I think a lot of people felt that was a progression forward from that first year at Stewart Haas where he went winless. But the big headline for Clint Bowyer this past weekend was the funny video he did on the plane.
Rough day at the office, didn't quite get the result. Butthole up there did. Amarola's up there somewhere, he got to finish. But other than that, what happened? We sucked.
Probably not the headline he wants to be remembered for coming out of ISM Raceway, although it is quintessential Clint Bowyer. Do you think he feels any pressure yet? I mean, it certainly doesn't look like it from that video. But
no, so listen, if you're Clint Bowyer and that team, you look back on Phoenix and you say, hey, we ran well. Didn't run great, but ran well. And then late in the race, things didn't work out. Restarts didn't work out. Ultimately, you had to come back in, put 4 tires on, try to climb your way back to the field. All that just didn't work out. But they had a good race car, and I think that they can look back on that when the emotions are gone, right, and say, okay, here's where we really are. Here's where we need to get better. But they're not light years away. So I think, based on Clint's video, I think he knows that. I think if they would have gone there and run bad, you wouldn't have seen that video from Clint. It would have been silence. He would not have been messing around. But I think when he got on that airplane, everybody on that airplane were Stewart Haas employees. They all knew what had happened on that day. They had no reason to hang their head. Their finishes were not as good as they ran, but there was some of that was just circumstantial.
Right. And hopefully none of them got sick as well with wearing those surgical masks.
Yeah, because we're in their shop.
Yeah.
And that means that germ could be in
hopefully
here.
we're protected from the flu here. A driver who might be feeling pressure at Stewart Haas, Jeff, Daniel Suarez, first season with the team. Obviously it's early. It's only a few races in. But when you compare it to the driver that he's replacing, Kurt Busch is off to a great start with Chip Ganassi Racing in the number 1 Chevrolet.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects Daniel Suarez in the number 41 Ford that Kurt was in last year?
Well, listen, I think that some of what we saw on Friday with Daniel's frustration was some of that. I know track position matters. I know all those things matter, and qualifying is intense. But there was already some pressure building, and it had to pop, and that was some of what we saw. What Daniel has to do is understand that he's new in this relationship, and it really would be unrealistic to expect to go out and outrun Kevin Harvick. The first thing that they need to do is just get their feet underneath them, have clean races, go knock off top 12s, top 15s, right? Clean, non-eventful races, and just get into a rhythm. I don't feel like they've been able to get into a rhythm yet. I feel like every week there's been something that happened. And even like this past weekend, the event you saw on Friday, that has a way of distracting from just paying attention to the race. There's no way that you as a human being can get in that kind of altercation, millions of people talking about it, and it not affect how you focus and all those kind of things, no matter how hard you try. So I think they just need, I mean, you know, we're a few races into the year. Like, you know what I mean? Let's focus, everybody catch your breath, calm down a little bit. I think they're going to be fine. I do believe, though, it's human nature. You're going to compare yourself to the guy you're replacing. And the company does that too, and that company does that too. So you have Kurt that's gone over to Chip Ganassi. They've been ultimate, kind of the opposite of what's happened with the 41. A lot of stuff happening, not the consistency they're looking for. They've had consistency at the 1, and just by human nature you compare yourself. But ultimately you got to put blinders on and just go pay attention. Focus on your team, and Eric's doing well, Clint's doing well, Harvick's doing well, and I think Daniel's going to do well also.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we love to see that emotion, even though it might be, as you said, certainly a sign of frustration for Daniel Suarez. Great to see that emotion with Michael McDowell qualifying, but it is interesting to me, you know, you say it is early, it's just a few races in here, but this is Daniel Suarez's 3rd season in Cup. His first 2 years at Gibbs, I think it's fair to say the expectations were a little bit different because he was thrust into that ride at Gibbs because Carl Edwards retired when nobody expected it. So do you think that's maybe part of this too, that this year 3, he almost has to pick it up even though it's his first year at Stewart Haas?
So this is a pressure-filled sport. I don't care if you're – think about Jimmy Johnson. He's won 7 championships, and we were talking yesterday on NASCAR America. What's wrong with Jimmy Johnson? He's a 7-time champion. This is a what have you done for me lately sport. It just is. Your success, you simply look at the scoreboard when the race is over, and that's it. Okay? And we talk about how you run matters, and it does, but where you finish is what matters. How many points you gain is what matters. It's pressure-filled. It's always going to be for everybody. And so Daniel's going to have to – he's going through that, and he did. He got thrust in. He got thrust in at Gibbs before he was really ready. He's – you know, but what do you can't say no. You had an opportunity to drive a Cup. You go do it. So in my opinion, Daniel Suarez and his team are going to be fine, and they need to not grade themselves – you know, too early, too soon. You can't stick your head in the sand and ignore it, but at the same time, you have to be realistic, and they are not that far off.
Right, and we'll see this weekend at Fontana if Daniel Suarez and number 41 team can rebound. Tomorrow, NASCAR America, speaking of Stewart Haas, we'll have a NASCAR connection, I believe, from Stewart Haas on NASCAR America. We'll have the 2020 Hall of Fame nominations. Jeff, I don't know specifically who's on that list, but I can tell you that Tony Stewart is eligible to be on that list. So
I bet he might be on it if he's eligible.
I think we might see co-owner of Stewart Haas Racing, Tony Stewart, on our nomination show tomorrow, NASCAR America, 5 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. Make sure to tune in. Thanks for watching Splash and Go.
Hey NASCAR fans, thanks for checking out the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below for the latest NASCAR news, race highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.